Hello, hello, hello. If you're watching this on the replay, then you are checking out the October Patreon exclusive live stream for the Den of Nerds. But alas, as per usual, I have to set this up for all of the other patrons that are going to be watching it live. So give me just a second here and we'll get into this. But I can tell you while I'm doing this that this is going to be sort of a special, or at least I think this is going to be a special live stream because we just got back from, I just got back from New York Comic Con, and man, was it cool and really like exciting for the brand. Really like a really just great trip. A lot of really cool stuff happened. So I'm looking forward to getting into that, talking about that a bit. And let's see here. So if I put in this here and then go, oh geez. Okay. Yeah, okay. Get that out of my face. Why can I not publish this? Oh, that's what. Always takes a second here, man. It's never easy. And then I gotta make sure that people make sure they open this on YouTube so that they can join the chat. Okay, bada boom. Okay, so we're gonna post that in there. So yeah, so this is like I said, really cool because New York Comic Con was awesome. Also, I think added to the coolness is the fact that we're about to break 100,000 subscribers. In fact, if I hadn't of done the Joker video today, which everybody got all mad about, if I hadn't done that, we would definitely probably have passed it, especially if I had done the other video that I was thinking about doing. But you know, sometimes, man, I just gotta play from the heart. You know what I mean? I just gotta play a little jazz and do kind of what I want to do. Adrian, what's up, man? How are you? How are you, man? Wait for everybody to trickle in. And then I think if I go onto the Patreon page, hopefully I can try to keep an eye on that and interact with people. Make sure you open this on YouTube to join our chat. Bum 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 bum. Trickle on in. What's going on, gentlemen? How are we doing tonight? How are we feeling? How's everybody feeling? So as I've been telling the chat, because you know people watch this on the replay. In fact, maybe that's a good place that I could start. Actually, let's see here, because one of our Patreons, Anthony Fisher, hit me up, and because he's in the UK, the timeline is just very different. And so he can't be here in the chat. So he hit me up with some questions via Patreon through the messages, and I'm going to get into some of his questions. But also, you know, I was thinking about this, guys. What if this is this like not an ideal time for people to be streaming? You know what I mean? Like, are we doing this wrong? Maybe that's something to think about, and we can do some polls on the Patreon or whatever. Because obviously we want people to get in here and hang out with us. So if it's a bad time or if it's a bad day, we can switch it up. I just wanted to be consistent with it. You know what I mean? But I'm open to different ideas when it comes to that. That's for sure. But yeah, let me get into Anthony's questions right here. So he says, number one, I've heard that Disney Plus will be rolling out content on a weekly basis rather than just dropping a full series in one day. How do you think that will factor into the shows themselves for both Marvel and Star Wars, as it will be like 6 to 8 weeks? Okay, so I think without getting the total clarification on this question, I think what he's referring to is Um, how do I think it will factor into like Star Wars movies or MCU movies? I think is where you're going with this. First of all, I like the fact that they're actually going to be dropped weekly. It's number one, it's better for this channel to do that because the content rolling out weekly, like that's just legitimately better. That's easier for us to make content of, right? And there's that water cooler talk every week. It's just super cool. Yeah, that's Ryan saying it means we can do after shows. We've already talked about that, so we're gonna do it. Um, but as far as like how it ties into the rest of it, I would say they're obviously going to time the MCU ones in a way that they'll probably lead right up to big movies. That's kind of the way I see them going. So, for instance, the WandaVision show, you'll likely see the last episode of that like the week before Doctor Strange 2 and the Multiverse of Madness comes out, or at least that's kind of what I would hope, right? Because that's like, honestly, that's a really cool idea to ramp up right before going into a movie. You know what I mean? Like that would be pretty freaking cool. So that's a really good idea. As far as the Star Wars ones, I'm not really sure because Star Wars is going to have more Disney Plus than it's going to have movies, at least for the next couple of years, because they're not doing another Star Wars movie for a couple of years. Do you know what I mean? So at the very least, it'll give them a ton of content to probably rotate around. Maybe first quarter, second quarter, third quarter. I don't know what they'll do. But yeah, there'll be plenty of Star Wars stuff coming out on Disney Plus. So yeah, I guess they will be like 68 weeks long of content. That's kind of crazy. Let's see here. Number 2, he says, crazy fan theory of mine, which I want to get your thoughts on. Do you think She-Hulk could debut in Spider-Man 3, maybe as a lawyer, and then post-credit scene into her lying on the table and we see her eyes go green? So this is really cool, actually. So yeah, I do think that. I think in one of the shows I talked about this, I reported on the spot. Yeah, it was last week. It was the rumors of She-Hulk being in Spider-Man 3. I would love it. But your version of it, I actually like even better, which would be, what if it's just Jennifer Walters and the post-credit scene shows her becoming She-Hulk, and then we see that take place in her show, which would be awesome. So my thing is, when I first thought of that, I was like, yo, what if, she's just already She-Hulk? That would be really cool. And I don't know, maybe it's just the comic nerd in me, but I just thought, yeah, that's how we do that. But yeah, if it's just Jennifer Walters and then she becomes She-Hulk, that would be freaking dope. And then let's see here. The third question here. Yo, Al Schuler in the building. What's going on, man? And so the third question coming from Anthony Fisher is, you guys are so freaking close to 100K subscribers. Have you got any plans to celebrate this milestone? Well, as it so happens, I do have a plans to celebrate. I have this nice bottle of Pinot Gris. This is Santa Margarita. It's my fave. And we're going to pop that. I hope you heard that. And we're going to, if you're watching at home, whether it's on the replay or you're watching live, I suggest getting a beverage and cheers, my friends, to 100K. Yeah. Yeah, I really like Santa Margarita. And I'll just keep drinking this throughout the stream. And who knows, maybe I'll say some crazy stuff at the end. So we've got some people coming in here. I think we'll probably get more as we're going on. I don't even know if I might not have actually posted on the Patreon as a post. I posted in the update video, but I may not have made a post explaining to people that, yeah, we're doing the Patreon exclusive live stream tonight. And before we get any too much further, I do want to say, too, that shout out to some of the new patrons. And one thing I just wanted to note real quick was, too, that, when it comes to Patreon and when it comes to particularly like the tiers, like the EP tiers or even the business tiers or whatever, like I don't ever want people to be put in a position in which like it's difficult for them to be supporting the channel. Like that's not what we're about, and that's not like how I want things to go. So like if there was ever a moment in time, and like just for instance, like Al Schuler in the past has actually backed away from EP and then come back to EP. You know what I mean? And it's like no big deal whatsoever. Like we don't want to put any strain on everyone. And I say all that because Alex, as an EP stepped down at the end of last month as an EP, just because he didn't feel like he had the time right now. He's actually just going through some stuff, right? And I was like, dude, it's totally cool. And so I don't know if there's a thing or not, but I never want that to be a thing. You know what I mean? With people on Patreon, like it's your hard-earned money. Like it's a huge freaking big deal. And so just anybody out there, if you're ever on the Patreon and you need to downgrade or you need to just leave for a little bit, like, dude, come on, you're totally cool with me. Like, don't make it a thing. It's not a thing at all. But having said that, we did pick up a new executive producer. I want to say a couple days later, which was kind of crazy. But this gentleman is just simply going to be known as the Godfather, which I think is amazing. So I want to say welcome to the Godfather to be one of our newest executive producers. Now, the Godfather don't mess around. He's very busy this week. Okay, so I can't have a meeting with him this week, but next week, the Godfather and I are going to sit down, and I'm very excited to do some content with this guy. I think it's going to be really cool. Yeah, no, for real, Al. Yeah, the struggle can be super real. The struggle is real. I mean, that's, it is what it is, man. That's, we need to subsidize and we need support, and we've built a system on Patreon that I think is actually really good. Like, I think the EPs get a lot of value out of being EPs, and I get a lot of value from them. So it's like, I think it's really copacetic. And on down the list, like I think we really have it. If I can get a little bit better at vlogging, I think we're really going to have the perfect combo here on Patreon. But if it's too tough, like, it's too tough, you know what I mean? So we totally get it. Now, guys, let's talk about New York Comic Con. New York Comic Con was dope, guys. New York Comic Con was dope, and I only went for 2 days. Actually, this is unbelievable to me that how much stuff we did in 2 days, because I didn't go Thursday. I instead hung out in Philly, and thank you, man. Thank you, Trinity. I appreciate that. I instead hung out in Philly and saw Joker, and what's so funny too? Side note. Pause. I liked the Joker movie. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just so crazy because, like, you put I put this video out, right? And obviously, like, it's a little, like, clickbaity, and I definitely don't like it as much as a lot of other people out there. Like, people are gushing about Joker, right? And I'm just like, it's not that good. It's good, but it's not that good. And so I basically come out and make this video about it, and, like, people just, they can't handle it. You know what I mean? They're like, no, you must love it. You must love it the way I love it, Anyway, dude, yeah, Second Street, you're gonna love, dude. I hope Trinity. I think you'll love that video, and I think you'll get where I'm coming from. I don't think you're gonna agree with me, but I think you'll see where I'm coming from, and you'll know that it's like, yeah, that's I can see how Josh would feel that way. But yeah, just check out the comments, man. It's amazing. It's amazing. I've been talking to the EPs about eventually doing a show. Well, it's a segment on the morning stream, which is still a thing. The morning stream is still coming. It's just been a little tougher with video games than I anticipated. So I have to back burner the morning stream until we get video games a little bit better on track. But in the morning stream, one of the segments is going to be like going into the depths of the YouTube comment section. And it's going to be sort of like Tales of the Crypt, like literally like horror and stuff. Like, like lightning and striking and all that, and organs playing and shit. And then I'm going to read these comments from people, and we're just going to have fun with it. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, it is just funny to me. But yeah, so Thursday night I didn't go. I watched Joker. I liked it. And then so Friday morning I leave super early. I ended up just being real with you guys. I ended up staying way too late up on Thursday because I was back in Philly. I hadn't seen my the homies in a while, so we were chilling after the movie. We were playing this amazing Star Wars game, Outer Rim, which I don't know if you guys have heard me gush about. It's a tabletop game, Star Wars. It's incredible. So we were playing that, stayed up way too late till 3 a.m. Then I woke up at like 6:40 and just left for New York. Okay. And then I get to my Airbnb. She lets me check in a little bit early because I wanted to just drop my stuff off and go to the con. So I chilled for a little bit, ended up going to the convention. And basically right away, I had like a slight trouble where I was trying to get a pass for Ryan, and um, the because I had a buddy back out last minute, right? So I had a guy that was approved for press, and then he backed out last minute, and I was like, okay, that's fine. Like I'll just pick up his pass and give it to Ryan on Saturday. Yeah, dude. See, Al played it with us in Chicago. Yeah, it's dope. So anyways, I can't get the press pass for Ryan because the people are saying no, you need the ID for the person that it's associated with or whatever. But so I know some people pretty high up at ReedPop, so I ended up just kind of going over everybody's head and emailing these people, and I got in touch with like the lead of their entire press division. And so basically, like on Saturday when Ryan was there, I just showed them this email, and as soon as they saw that it was from this guy, like they were ready to give me like whatever I wanted. And so yeah, so that's basically where like the con starts. Now I get in there. And I'm like, okay, cool, we got press. Let's go in here. Like, let's see what we're doing. I see like the big on the exhibit floor. There's the big thing for the Marvel's Avengers game. Okay, and so I go over there and I'm like, okay, because you gotta know, I've been getting emails all week. Okay, actually for months. The way that the press works out of these big cons is they will email you all these just notices, right? And just notices of press things that you can go to. Different, there'll either be like an event that you're invited through via the press, or like certain things are happening, and then they give you the people to contact for that stuff. That if you wanted to check it out, right? So I've been getting all these emails and stuff like that. I actually didn't know that the Avengers game was going to be there, but I guess I should have assumed it was. I went over and I was talking to them about trying to get some press exclusive time with a developer or to play some of the game, right? And they kind of gave me like the ring around the first day. Like I was sent over to this other booth. I talked to them a little bit, and then they said, "Hey, tomorrow morning, if you come in early before the exhibit hall, you can take your peek at the game or whatever." And I was like, okay, that's fine or whatever. And I was walking around, and then I go over to the Marvel Contest of Champions booth. Now, Contest of Champions, actually, I went over there for The Godfather. The Godfather is a big time Contest of Champions person, and he wanted me to get them. There's like usually these little postcards that have like codes and stuff like that. And so I basically go over there with the intention of getting him this card, okay? And while I'm over there, I was like, yo, are you guys doing anything with press? Like, can we sit down and can we talk to any of the developers or anything like that? And then I go over and they're like, well, what outlet are you from? And I was like, oh, the Den of Nerds. And they essentially were like, as soon as she heard that, she was like, oh, okay, hold up right here. And then she goes away a little bit and literally gets, I'm going to try to find here who these people are, because I actually was emailing back and forth with, one of the guys, because he was trying to make sure I got, okay, yeah, so here it is. So I sat down and talked to the creative and art director, Gabrielle, and then Megan McGregor, who is the lead producer of the game. And literally, guys, I was just like, almost literally like kind of putzing around, and I was like, so you guys doing anything with press? What can I do? She literally takes these two dudes, or this gal and this guy, and me, and brings me like all the way past this like huge line of people and puts me in this like area that's roped off, but this huge line of people now can see me and see these two big wigs from Kabam. And I'm literally just sitting. I'm like in my head. I'm like, act cool, like act like you've done this before. You've done this plenty of times. You know what I mean? And so we go into this little area, and all these people are like, who is this motherfucker right there? You know what I mean? And I just wanted to act like I knew what the fuck I was talking about, and I knew what I was doing. The good thing about it was the game. I had been getting emails for this game. And it's called Realm of Champions. Okay, now I'll explain more of this game later, like in a video or whatever. But it's essentially like Secret Wars. It's like if Secret Wars happened in a mobile game, and the combat is not like Contest of Champions, which is really based. It's like a fighter. It's like a 3D one-on-one fighter game. It's a great game. But this is going to be different. And they didn't talk to me a lot about gameplay, actually. It was the one thing they did not talk to me about. Was the gameplay. But because I was so interested in the game, I guess I ended up asking like some decent questions, and we all just really started talking, and like we were immediately getting like rapport, right? And I was like, rapport is so powerful. People don't. Yep, exactly. People don't realize how powerful rapport is. If you can get in a situation like this, rather than the most important thing, well, depending on what you want out of the situation, but the one of the most powerful things you can get is to make these people just like you. You know what I mean? Just be likable and say the right things, and like have good rapport. And we ended up having like this amazing rapport. And I'll tell you guys this one thing that was really cool, right? Where because they're geeking out about we're just geeking out about Marvel and about how much we love Hickman's Secret Wars and just are a lot of cool stuff. And I ended up saying like, it's so crazy that you guys are doing Secret Wars because there's a lot of rumors that the MCU will be doing Secret Wars. And this dude literally just gets this huge smile on his face. And like, you could tell like the girl was like a little, like she didn't want to say anything or whatever. But this dude, like Gabriel was like, he's like, look, I'll just say this. Cause he's foreign. I'm not sure what nationality he was, but he was like, look, I'll just say this. We're very good at predicting the future. And then he started talking about how that they transitioned the Grandmaster to being in charge of the Contest of Champions or something to that effect based on Thor Ragnarok. And they were talking about how like all these things tend to flow together pretty well. And I'm not saying that that this guy confirmed that Secret Wars is coming, but it was like a really cool moment. And it really, to me, was like a glimpse of where we could eventually get to, as a company, because as we get like more and more connections and we start talking to more and more people, it'll be this really cool thing because we're really not journalists, right? So like we can really like wedge into these situations and just be fans and kind of nerd out with these people and possibly get some juicy stuff, right? So that was like fantastic, man. And then as the day went on, I went around to a ton of booths, and if there was something interesting, like an exhibitor was doing, like there was this clothing that I thought was really cool. It was like superhero stuff, but it's like very subtle. Like it's like it's almost cosplay, but it looks streetwear too. And I've got the guy's card somewhere. I don't remember what his name or the company was offhand, but like things like that would interest me. And I would go up there and I'd basically be like, hey, like, do you guys do any activations or marketing, or advertising via social influencers, right? Because that's essentially the game. It's like what a lot of these people are most comfortable with talking about. But basically, we're at a point where if the company is big enough and good enough, they will already know who we are. Like we went to Sideshow Collectibles, which was the company that does Hot Toys, right? And they gave me this sick card. This guy's card was awesome. Actually, Ryan was there with me when we did this. And so we went up to them and they were like, what's the name of the company or the outlet? And I was like, the Den of Nerds. And he's like, oh yeah, like you guys pop up on my list. So essentially, we're starting to do the views in the right places over time in a way that like we're literally popping up for big companies that are looking for our type of an audience to do an activation with or to do some advertising with. Now, the reason I'm so excited about the Sideshow Collectibles thing in particular is because the truth is there are a lot of companies out there that we could work with. I get hit up all the time with different companies that want to advertise or do this, that, and the second and the third. And it's like a challenging thing. You don't want to work with companies that are grubby, that don't have a high quality product. It reflects badly on your brand. But Sideshow and Hot Toys is so high quality and so freaking cool. Such cool stuff that like you're damn right I would advertise the hell out of that and plug the hell out of that. Not to mention that I just won a bunch of cool Hot Toys. Like, dude, you can ask Ryan. Like, I more or less went up to the guys, and after just a little bit, I was like, look, I want to get a bunch of cool Hot Toys. Basically, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, I literally was like kind of more or less like that. And they were really receptive to it. Like I think the biggest takeaway, because I went to the con with the intention of just networking, basically. I didn't really see a lot on the schedule. It's not like San Diego Comic-Con, or it's not like Star Wars Celebration where it's like, okay, they'll reveal this trailer here, they're going to reveal info here, like this is where we want to cover, this is where we need to be, this is what we're going to do. With New York Comic-Con, there was nothing really big like that. Like that, I couldn't see anything to really focus on as far as content. So instead, I was like, well, I still want to go. I want to bring as much value as I possibly can to the company. And we just focused on networking as opposed to trying to grind out content. And we were very successful in that regard. You know what I mean? I got to talk to Tom Bilyeu. Oh, my God. Tom, not many of you guys know who Tom Bilyeu is, right? I think one of the only people in here that might know who he is would be Trinity, actually. I think Trinity knows who Tom Bilyeu is, but basically, Tom Bilyeu is like an extremely successful entrepreneur, and he's in the space of like self-development, and which is a space I eventually want to get into, and he's just legitimately like one of my idols. Yeah, like dude, Tom is, and dude, Trinity, he was so cool, man. He was so cool. He looked very tired. Like I'll be real with you, he looked very tired. But like he, even though he looked tired, he was bringing the energy. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. And you know what else too, dude? He's really skinny. Like I didn't expect to be bigger than him. You know what I mean? Because you see him on TV and stuff, and he looks like thick. You know what I mean? And whatever. But yeah, he's real skinny, bro. Like real skinny. Which is fine. You know, that's not like that's a bad thing. I just when you see him, it's just a difference, right? It's just like a weird difference. But talking to him about comics was mind blowing. It was mind blowing because I really like understand where he's coming from, and I was so interested in what someone who's not inside the comic book industry thinks about this industry once they get into it, because he's super business minded. He's just like, boom, like this is what it is. Let's just like, let's not mince words. This is what it is. Let's see it for what it is and kind of move on. And like, dude, homie basically told me, he's like, yeah, there's comics is collapsing. There's no money in comics. Comics, you know, he even talked about the diversity thing. He's like, yeah, there's all this like weird infighting going on about diversity and stuff. It's like the whole thing's a fucking mess. But it still serves the purpose of what he's trying to do. And it was kind of unfortunate because like he's really not trying to change comics or like help comics or fix comics. He's sort of using comics to sort of launch IP out there into the ether and try to maybe get it optioned and stuff like that, which, you know, it makes sense. But like it was still hella cool to hear him talk about business and to be able to provide some insight. Like the thing is too, like I'm at a point now where, and it's not, you know, I don't know, maybe it's a little bit of an ego thing, but I try to think of it as not an ego thing. I'm just not afraid anymore of like anybody. So even talking to Tom, who's like literally one of my idols, like I'm not afraid to like tell it how it is, in my opinion. You know what I mean? As we go forward and as we move and we do more crazy stuff and build this thing even more, like I'm gonna be, you know, even less afraid, you know, to the point where like someone will probably have to pull me back and you'd be like, you know, you're fucking wrong every once in a while, which is fine. But yeah, it's yeah, I just read his title, Hexagon. I should have had him sign it when I was there, but I blanked on that. But yeah, so basically, like, just between all that networking, and then like the day I had with Ryan was dope. Like, dude, that was a good day. Like, we did the damn thing. Got recognized a good bit, which was interesting. You know, and that's always interesting. But it's happening more and more at each con I go to, right? But yeah, like we had a great day of networking, trying to reach out to people, giving away some cards. The X-Men panel, I think, was just so cool for us to go to. And what's really crazy about going to the X-Men panel is because, so obviously Ryan and I have been working on the Hickman stuff, right? So we did that Hickman video, and I don't know how many of you guys know this, but like Ryan and I know because we've been like on it. That video, I think, is like, what, 43K at this point? Where's it at right now? It's 45. So it did 45K. And what's crazy is that first night when we dropped that video, it did like nothing. It did like 2 to 3K for like a night. And we were like, oh man, yo, what up, Maverick? What up? But yeah, so like Ryan and I have been on this X-Men thing. You know what I'm saying? So we already like we were in the zone for this thing, and then as we're walking into the panel, this gentleman recognized me, and it was like cool. He was like super cool. He wanted to take a selfie and all that, and like we're just walking, and I started to kind of explain about the video that we did, right? The Jonathan Hickman's X-Men ending theory video. And at first the guy was like, oh, I don't know if I saw that one. And then we all started talking about it. And he's like, oh no, I've definitely seen that one. And it was just so cool, dude. Like to be able to go into the X-Men panel with a fan that recognized us, have a chat, and it's literally me and like my producer that worked on that video. It was just like a beautiful situation. And then like Ryan and I, like we're just I don't know, we just got so lucky. So we go in there and we went in with everybody else, but we had press passes, right? And so like I went up to this girl and I was like, do you work here? What's up? I was like, I'm just looking at where press can sit or whatever. And so she ends up being someone that works at Marvel. She takes us over to the press, but we're not allowed to sit with press because you need 5-star press, right? It's not just press anymore. You need 5-star press. You got to be like the 1% of press to actually sit in the press section of this big Marvel thing. But it just so happened that the gal that brought us over worked at Marvel and was like, no, they can sit here because I am allowed to sit here and I'm not going to sit here, so I'll just let them sit here. And the Reed Pop people were like, well, okay, I guess, and we just plopped down and we're in the 5-star press area watching the X-Men panel. It was absolutely incredible. It was a very cool experience. And ultimately, like, it was a really feel-good trip that had me very excited about what we've been able to do and where we're going next. Do you know what I mean? The thing about cons is like they're really cool and they're fun, but depending on the con, you really can't get a lot of content or value out of them. And I felt like leading up to it, and today, like the Joker video's not doing super hot. Like we'll see how it spikes tomorrow. Like if people are feeling it or not, we'll see. It has good watch time, so it might still have legs. But like, the goal is to obviously get back into the flow and start knocking out some great content for the rest of the week leading up into Star Wars Sunday. A lot of stuff to do with like the Gray Order and networking out to all the people, all the business cards that I got, all the connections I made, just dropping them a line in the next couple of days via email, and just going from that. But that is pretty much, what I wanted to talk about. Yeah, that very well could be. I mean, the thing is, Jeremy, Gary, and Cecil. I didn't know was Jeremy there. I didn't know that he was there. I saw a picture online with I think it's Cecil. I don't really know like these guys very well, but I think it was Cecil and Ethan. Cecil and Ethan, and I saw them like on a picture online, but I ended up seeing them in real life. Yeah, I didn't really do that. Although, so it's funny because like as I was going through Artist Alley, I was thinking to myself like, I wonder if there's any Comicsgate people here, and then I wonder if like, I don't think Ethan would do this because I just generally think that like he's over it and doesn't want to whatever deal. But like Gail Simone did have a booth in Artist Alley, and I'm just thinking to myself like, what if what would she do, right? If like Ethan just walked up on her and was like, hey, how you doing, Gail? If you don't know the drama I'm talking about, you're better off for it, but it was some real shit. Yeah, I look, I would totally hang with those dudes. Like the thing is, but Jeremy really doesn't like me because I took like shots at him, back in the day and all that. Jeremy really doesn't like me, but that's totally fine because like Jeremy doesn't even hang, like he doesn't really even party or hang out, so. I don't think that would be a problem. But, like, I would have no problem hanging out with those guys. You know what I mean? I think it would be kind of hilarious because I think the truth is we would all probably have a great time, but then we'd go right back to, like, making content that's kind of adversarial towards each other, and it would be fine. Like, I don't blame them, and I don't think they blame me, so. So, gentlemans. Does anybody have any questions for old Josh? We can break into some Q&A. That's pretty much all I really wanted to touch on when it came to that. There's some other specific stuff that I'm going to talk about in the little vlog for the business peeps. Specifically, what the developers on Saturday, Ryan and I got to sit for really briefly talk to a developer named Meg. Was it Meg, Ryan, or is it? I think it was Meg. It wasn't Mel, right? But I got to sit down and talk to a developer and Mel. Okay, it was Mel. Damn. But yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. Because I just kept wanting to call her Meg because of Family Guy, because she was a total Meg about this situation. But anyway, I was talking to her about the Avengers Project game, and she was like, kind of getting irritated and boilerplating me. And then at one point, I'm literally like, well, you do realize why people are confused. And she's like, I realize why people are confused, but I can't say anything about that. And I'm like, okay. Okay, Meg. She's not Meg. I know she's not Meg, but you get where I'm coming from. So I'll be talking about some of that stuff in the business thing. But if you guys have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Connectivity issues. Maverick might not even be. Let's see here. I was wanting to do a live stream next Sunday talking about, oh yeah, open. Okay. If you and Ryan wanted to come on for a while, that'd be awesome. Yeah, dude. Wait, when is it? Next Sunday? I'll have to double check, but I don't think that would be a problem depending on the time. So Sundays are weird for me because of the Star Wars Sunday thing. But yeah, I don't think that would be a problem at all. You know, honestly, dude, the thing is, Trinity, if you wanted to, what we could set up, which would be, you know, I don't know, like it would be up to you, like how you use the content. But what's easier for me is if like I just kind of get some time and then you and I do a video together or a couple videos. So like think about this: if we set aside like an hour, and you just had a few topics, let's just say two, right? Like two different topics that you kind of wanted to go deep on, then like you and I could just get on Discord and you could just record the whole thing. And then, you know, you could obviously intro and run it and, you know, host, right? You know, for your channel and talk about Marvel. And I'd be more than happy to sit there and talk with you about Marvel. And then eventually too, like, and I think the thing is too, for everybody, but for Trinity specifically, once the morning stream goes on, like, dude, I have zero problem, particularly with that, having you on the morning stream, like, a lot. Because there's essentially the way I think of it is it's like a morning talk show. And, you know, you could have different callers and people call in and like you could call in and we could talk about stuff and some of that stuff will end up on the main channel as well. Do you know what I mean? Because we're going to clip it and make it into content and stuff. So let us see here. With the big popularity of the MCU, what does this mean for the future of comics themselves and collect sales? Do you mean like collectors, or direct sales? Maybe is that what you meant? Okay, so what does the MCU thing mean for comics? Very little, actually. Strangely enough, although, okay, so this is what's weird. On the one hand, comic sales, gotcha, brother. Don't worry about it. On the one hand, I do think there was a time when the MCU was getting boosted, or rather, comics were getting boosted because of the MCU. When Jonathan Hickman, there was 3 years when Jonathan Hickman was writing Avengers, and those books were selling, compared to what Avengers sells now, those books were selling incredibly well, like 50 to 80,000 per week, you know? And like I think there's a couple of different things. Number one, yeah, it's John, it's Hickman. But at the time, Hickman really wasn't like, I don't know, like it's hard to explain, but I don't think he was as big back then. It took him all the way through Secret Wars and then leaving for a while. Like his popularity kind of grew over time. But I think a lot of the problem with Marvel and the MCU has been like if the way they went in the comics, right? and you know, you can call it the wokeness, you can call it whatever you want. The bottom line is the biggest problem was the Avengers themselves did not look like the Avengers that were on the screen. So at one point after Secret Wars, they make Sam Wilson Captain America, they make Jane Foster Thor, you know what I mean? So look, inherently nothing was wrong with that. But when you're a movie fan and you see that big buff Thor and that's awesome, and you want to come, you go to look for a Thor comic and it's Lady Thor, and then the guy at the comic thing tells you, yeah, Thor's not worthy right now. You know what I mean? Like, that's just not an easy bridge to cross. It's the same thing with Cap. You go to the comic book shop and you're like, I want to read some Captain America, man. I just saw these movies, really love it. And you're like, oh no, that's cool. Captain America is now Sam Wilson, and oh yeah, Steve Rogers is kind of a Nazi now. You know what I mean? Like, dude, it's just not an easy bridge. You can't do that. I think that one of the reasons the Hickman stuff was selling so well was because the Avengers were the Avengers. It was Iron Man. It was Captain America. You had Doctor Strange and T'Challa on the Illuminati Council, right? Like, it just felt right. It felt right. So Marvel has tried a bunch of different things when it comes to making comic book sales. Not a lot of them are going very well. I don't know how well that J.J. Abrams Spider-Man book sold. I assume it sold decently, at least the first one, but it'll probably fizzle out. But I'll tell you this. I got the feeling, and Ryan, I'm sure you back me up on this, I got the feeling that the Jonathan Hickman X-Men books are selling incredibly well. I got the feeling that Marvel is super happy with the sales numbers in both digital and in print for Jonathan Hickman's X-Men run. And I think that literally they're spinning out so many great X-Men books. I've not ever been this excited for X-Men, because I know there's like all those people that like they're huge X-Men fans. I like was never super into the X-Men. Like I never like read a lot of those books is what I'm saying. Like I would read the big event books and I would be like, "Oh, this is really cool. I like them." But yeah, this new X-Men stuff, dude. This is incredible stuff. This is incredible stuff, and it's spinning out into all these really freaking cool books. Like, I'm actually really pumped about a lot of these books that are happening, and it feels like maybe Marvel learned some hard lessons in the past couple of years. You know, it's not that you can't have diversity-driven books. You can, but you can't take away your main stuff and then only have sort of diversity books. Like Champions is a political book. Champions is a political woke book. And that's totally fine because there is an audience for that. I'm not one of these people that's like, there's no audience for that. No, there's definitely an audience for that. But you need to have like your main just Avengers for the comic book readers. Like you need to just have comic book stuff. That sounds weird, but that's where I'm at with it. Yeah, let's see here. You said, do you think they would ever do movie tie-ins? So this is something I've actually wanted for a long time. They do already do MCU comics, right? And I don't know the numbers on them, but I get the feeling that this is like a Ike Perlmutter, Kevin Feige pettiness thing. I feel like Perlmutter does not want to do this at all, even though he's sort of not really in charge anymore. Like he still has a lot of say over there, but he's not like technically in charge anymore. But yeah, I don't know if it's just like a thing with Marvel Comics, but I think it would be brilliant if they did an imprint that was literally taking place inside the canon of the MCU. You know what I mean? Like, wouldn't that be dope? Wouldn't you guys want to read some of that stuff? I'm sorry if I'm shaking the camera. But wouldn't that be kind of incredible? I think that would get a lot of people to buy some comics. And they've tried to do like versions of it. Like I remember when Guardians came out, or maybe it was Infinity War. Maybe it was when Infinity War came out. They did like this big graphic novel that was supposed to coincide with the movie, but it was a new story. It was comics, but it wasn't applicable to the movies. It wasn't in the comic canon. I don't know. It was weird. Yeah, dude, Trinity, you're absolutely right. They kind of are doing it with Disney Plus now, which is wild. They kind of are doing it. I told Tom, when I was talking to Tom about comics, I said, look, man, Europeans have been saying for years that the floppies and the way that the diamond pushes off floppies to retailers and sort of makes them push it, that the whole system's totally fucked, and floppies should be out, and you should be just going for books, bigger books, manga style comics. Because you think about it, like manga, dude, it's so wild. You spend like $5 to $10 on manga, and you get like boom, like that much book, right? You spend $5 to $7, $8, $10 on a comic book, and like at most, you're looking at 50, 60. You know, the Flashpoint from whatever they did back in the day, that was like an 81-page comic that Jeff Johns did. What was that, Rebirth, maybe? Yeah, I think it was Rebirth. But other than that, like you're literally looking at like probably 30 pages. Like 30 pages. Like, what? How can you get... The value's way off, dude. Like, the value's way off there. Which of the X-Men spinoffs are you most excited for? I don't know, man. That's a tough one. So, honestly, Excalibur kind of interests me, even though it's, you know, not maybe what you would think of as like a book I would really like. In phase 2, obviously the Logan book's going to be really cool. The Marauders sounds dope. Like, I love how he was saying that, like, it is probably the most lore heavy. Cause I think what he's talking about is like taking, you know, mutant refugees back, you know, dealing with the humans and stuff like that. I think it's going to be really cool. X-Force undoubtedly is going to be awesome. You know what I mean? Like, that just seems like a really cool book. Yeah, I'd probably have to say those ones. And of course, the main X book, which is like Jonathan doing just kind of weekly awesome X-Men adventures. Like, tell me that doesn't sound awesome. Basically, monthly one-shots that all have to do with what's going on in X-Men. Hell yeah. Yeah, I think, Maverick, the truth is... the distribution models are just all different here, and these companies are so archaic. You know what I mean? Like, most companies are archaic until they need to change or die. And unfortunately, when you have an industry like comics, which is really a micro industry, and you've only got basically two big players, if the big two go under, comics is completely done. Not like completely done, but like it just doesn't exist really as an industry, right? And so they don't really have that much competition. Like, really, they don't. And so they have not been forced to adapt to the times, you know, for any reason until recently. Until recently, when it's really collapsed on them. And so a lot of the goodness that we'll be getting in the next couple of years of comics, hopefully, is a direct result of bad shit that happened in the past couple of years. But yeah. So Trinity, I actually haven't read Neon Future. What's the way the comic landscape is? Tell me more about that. What's going on with Neon Future? Why is it so dope? I'm so excited for Realm of Champions, guys. Oh, by the way, they gave me a ton of swag. They gave me like a new hat. They gave me all of these different... They gave me just all this different swag, you know, different pins, different banners, all sorts of different stuff like that. So they got me. They got me. They got me. Took over jobs. They took our jobs. That's awesome. Yeah, he was saying, we were talking about Cyberpunk and stuff. Dude, it was so cool talking to Tom. Because, like, I've legitimately watched I've been watching, you know, Impact Theory for a long time. And he's been talking about doing the comic book thing, right? And, you know, Trinity, you remember how he said that, like, he kept wanting to ask all these people the same thing, which was basically like, why is he going to fail? That's the first question I asked him. I was like, well, what did they say to you? Why are you going to fail? And he just went down the list of all the things going wrong with comics. And I was like, dude, this dude gets it. It was awesome. Quite us following through the old school model. Well, I'm into that, dude. That seems really cool. Yeah, there was a dude that was coming up very pumped about Neon Future while I was there talking to Tom. It was really cool. Happy for his success. People are super happy for his success. Oh man, people are so funny. Yeah, I mean, like, dude, yeah, it was just really cool, man. It was really cool. I'm just really hoping like one day what would be really awesome is if we got all the Patreons together for like a con, right? And we have like, like if we could get literally press passes for everybody and just roll super deep to a con, wouldn't that be awesome, dude? And just have a ton of fun, man. I mean, that's really what it's about. If you're not, I don't think you build a business, a media company called the Den of Nerds, if you're not down to have some fun with the things that you love. You know what I'm saying? And so that is what we are doing. But guys, I'm probably going to go 5 more minutes. Then I'm going to call it for the day. Play some Magic the Gathering. I've been loving this new set of Magic the Gathering. Super fun stuff. So if anybody has like a last minute question or anything, yeah, Keystone. Yeah, Keystone Comic Con. I mean, any good food? Actually, Ryan and I had these bowls, like these kimchi rice bowls with like I got like barbecue steak. It was super good. Had some good pizza in New Jersey. That was kind of cool. But yeah, Keystone Comic Con. I mean, dude, they'd love for me to go back to Keystone Comic Con. Um, the guy I know at Reed Pop is like all about it, all about trying to improve that con and get it bigger. So yeah, we could do that. That would be great. Yeah, we missed out on them because I thought we had to go through security, but there's this like area outside that's technically still in the con. It was crazy. Yeah, dude, Magic is huge. It's still the biggest game of all time. Still the biggest game of all time. Um, Yeah, it'd be wild too. I mean, like I wouldn't want to necessarily do it for this reason, but a lot of the old there's like this group of people that I was with about a year ago and they kind of screwed me over actually. And so there's particularly like this one dude and it would be crazy to go in there cuz we're like twice as big of a channel as we were 2 years ago when I was at Keystone and with those people. So it would be kind of cool to just be like, we're so good. We're so successful. Nice. LA Comic Con? Dude, I bet that's going to be dope, man. I bet that's going to be really fun. Yeah, so, okay, I'll leave you guys with this because it's a really cool thing. There's this dude named Vishen, and he's big in the meditation space. He has a really good meditation app. He goes around and talks to a bunch of different people. He's been on Impact Theory with Tom Bilyeu. And Vishen has this really cool thing where he says, most people when they make a list of things they want in their life, they make a list of objects and possessions and things like that. And he's like, really, that's not really what's valuable in life. Possessions are not what's valuable. The experiences are what is valuable, right? So what you really should do is sit down and make a list of the experiences you want, not the objects. And usually objects are actually a second tier desire anyway. So like for instance, like let me put it to you this way: like if you want to get married, you probably don't like want to get married for the thing of marriage. You want to get married for the experience of marriage, for having someone that you can really trust, always count on, that kind of relationship. You know what I mean? That just that comfort, right? Like that's the experience you want. Or as another example, if you want a big race car, you don't want a race car or a supercar to have the car. You want it to be able to have the experience of driving fucking 160 miles per hour. You know what I mean? And so in life, it is very useful to sit down and think about the experiences you want. And I remember back in the day when I was first really drawing up the vision for the Den of Nerds, what the den could be, and what I really wanted my life to be, I thought one of the experiences I love is Comic Cons. Literally, after 2014, when I went to New York Comic Con for the first time, and I went there with one of my independent comic books, and it was great. It was a great experience. We lost a ton of money on the booth because I couldn't sell as many books as I wanted to, although we did sell a good bit of books. It was just so crazy. I wish I knew what I know now then, we would have killed it. But I remember loving that, man. And as an exhibitor, you get to go out on the exhibit hall before it opens and just walking around and then, experiencing the con and just everybody being in a place that they love, and they're expressing their love of fandom, and maybe it's cosplay or some sweet t-shirts, or they're going to buy this cool swag or whatever it is. That experience to me was amazing. And I decided that is definitely an experience that I want to be having often in my life moving forward. And so next year will be one of the first years that I get to go to like a lot of conventions as a content creator and have the ability to do it and to be able to leverage them properly. And so it's really freaking cool. And I think, we're all here because in some way or form we're nerds and we love this stuff. And I think going out and experiencing this stuff, especially together, holy crap, man. Like, imagine if we had all been able to do it for this year. We could have went to New York Comic Con. We could have all seen Joker together in Manhattan, and had done that with all of you guys. I probably would have enjoyed the movie much better, and I would have made a better video today. So the lesson is you all need to go to the next Comic Con with me, so that I don't get as many dislikes on videos. But we're going to call it there, guys. Thank you so much. If you're watching this on the replay, thank you. Your support, guys. It's legitimately the cushion we need. It is like this literal perfect cushion we need for when things get rocky or shaky on YouTube. So I thank you so much. It can be so weird out there in the wilderness of YouTube. Literally, the Joker video today got hit with the copyright thing, which could also be why it's not performing very well. But yeah, it got whacked with the copyright thing, and I was like, oh, Jesus. The Spider-Man video last week on Thursday got hit with the copyright thing. Look, it's just YouTube. It is the game. But, like, those things do hurt us. And so the cushion that we get from support from you guys is amazing. Not to mention, I mean, guys, like, it's more than just money. Like, the way we've been able to communicate and have this brain trust for me is very important, because I can go off the rails sometimes, and like, it's great to have people to talk me down and to just have a place where these ideas can really flourish. So thank you very much. And yeah, one last time to 100,000 subscribers and 900,000 more at least. Cheers, guys. And I'm going to call it there. I'll see you guys in the next video.